Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between, welcome to another episode of the Chaps Chat Cats, a part of the Hoops Crew Media Network. My name's Jake, and I'm joined in the virtual studio by the one and only Mr. Johnny Larkin. How are you, Johnny?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good on this hot-looking Wednesday morning. Morning after a pretty interesting preseason game.
That's right, Johnny. We're going to talk all about Geelong's final Civil War reenactment of the preseason. They've got that out of the way with no major cannon fire injuries to speak of. We're going to talk about how that all went down, some player performance stuff, what we liked, maybe a bit of what we didn't like. That'll all be part of the public show. There'll be an extended Patreon bit at the end for anyone who is subscribed to Patreon, and you really should be, because you can try it for free for 7 days. Give it a whirl. Lots of extended and extra and bonus coverage of the Cats, particularly once the season starts. It's wall to wall, an veritable orgy of Geelong coverage over on the Hoops Crew Patreon. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
can't wait to see you over there. Before we get into the public part of the show, we have to say a big Hoops Crew Media Network thank you to our sponsor, Cyril Cook Florist. Absolute legends. You can visit them at www.cyrilcookflorist.com.au. You can phone them up on 035 222 2244 and make sure that you use the offer code GOCATS in the voucher field at checkout on the website. You'll get 20% off your next purchase. Go online, use the offer code GOCATS on your next Cyril Cook Florist purchase. You will get 20% off. So we thank them for that. We thank them for their sponsorship. Johnny, before my computer dies, before my computer melts, or before I melt, it's been an absolute odyssey to get here this morning. We were meant to start recording an hour ago. We're finally here. Let's jump into it. The game from last night. The Cats fall to the Bombers. Final Civil War reenactment of the season. It started like this, Johnny. The Bombers kicking the first 3 goals of the game. Those were goals to Durham, Martin, and Martin. Martin times 2. Geelong responded with a goal to Ollie Henry. Another goal to Isaac Kako. First of the night for him, and it would be the first of a little bag for him. Cats got one back with Tyson Stengel. It was Archie Perkins who got the final goal, the 5th for the Bombers of the term, to put Essendon up 5 straight 30 to 2-3-15. Now, the second quarter, probably where Geelong looked at their best. I would say that is a fair assessment, Johnny. It was Dangerfield goaling just before the 7-minute mark. That was responded to by a goal for Nate Caddy. Bombers fans understandably excited about how he looked. But then Geelong peeled off their best passage of footy for the evening. 4 straight goals. Mark Blixarves, Shannon Neal, Jeremy Cameron, and Jeremy Cameron again to put the lead to the Cats out to near double digits. Bombers responded. 2 goals to Archie Perkins and Nate Caddy before Jack Bowes put the Cats back on top at halftime. They led 8-4-52 to 8-1-49. Second half, much of it went the Bombers' way. They scored the first 3 goals of the third quarter. It was Sam Durham, it was Nate Caddy, it was Isaac Kako. It was responded to with 2 goals to Tyson Stengel and Brian Myers to leave the margin at just 1 point. Geelong trailing 67 to 68. They hit the front, Geelong, early in the final term. A goal to Shannon Neal. The Bombers hit back. Goal to Jake Gresham and Isaac Kako put them back in front. The Cats seized the lead with a goal to Ted Closey. But then the Bombers, they sealed things away. The final 4 goals of the night. Gresham, Kako, Brian, and Sam Draper stealing a 5-for from Isaac Kako on the line with that little side foot effort. The Bombers winning, Johnny, a super accurate, highly unrepeatable 17 goals to 104 to Geelong, 12-11, 83. Your opening feelings, statements, on the match, Johnny. A game, as we said, a Civil War reenactment, but one that the Bombers came out on top in.
Yeah, you could pretty much tell which team was taking this preseason game a lot more seriously than the other. It definitely wasn't the Cats. I don't think they were out there putting their best foot forward, except for some of the young players who, as you mentioned in our chat, they want to put their best foot forward to put a hand up for opening round or for more games this season. But I think the majority of the Cats just wanted to get through this unscathed, uninjured, no worries going forward. Which, good thing is, Cats did. There was no really injury worries. No players looked to do anything that would rule them out of round one, out of the senior core anyway. So that was the best part of the night, was we didn't go get any injuries. And it's a practice match. I don't think you can take a whole lot out of this, especially the end result. I don't think the Cats would be going, "Oh, what a disaster that was." I don't think it was a disaster at all. I think it was I think it's what you should expect from the Cats in the preseason. We're not going to go out there and try and annihilate a team in a meaningless game. But what's the point in using up all that energy, using up all those motivation early on? You'd rather save it up and build through the season, which the Cats are pretty expert at doing. So, yeah, it would have been nice to win, but at the same time, it's not really worth a win at the moment. I'd rather win during the season when it matters. But saying that, I thought some of the young guys, Nevitt, O'Sullivan, looked really good. Mullen, I don't know, he still seems to have a few things to work on, but that tagging thing he did just didn't seem to be his style. It doesn't seem to suit him as much. But I think out of all the young group there, it was probably Nevitt. I thought was best on for the night out of the young core. His effort, his repeat efforts to get the ball, that nice one where it was a 50-50, and I think it was in the second quarter, where it sort of came barging through, won it off two Bombers players, and then kicked it inside 50 to Jeremy Cameron, who ended up kicking the goal. Was expertly done. It was just like a good shot of barge, get in there, get it out, getting inside 50, and it paid off. So there's still lots of good signs out there for the Cats, and Cats fans don't stress, don't worry. But when I thought the Cats were playing at the best, they're still able to easily get on top of the Bombers and make them pay. And even when the Bombers were completely on top, they still couldn't get away from the Cats. But I remember thinking in that third quarter, they're only a point ahead. They should be at least 4-5 goals ahead. But at this point, with all this domination that they've got, so yeah, I'm not too worried. I was pretty happy with the end result.
No,
And I think the Bombers fans may get a bit of that, hype up again, going, "Oh, we're going to be really good this year." So their fall from making finals to probably missing the finals again will be very sweet.
It's so funny. I'm not a massive fan of the Bombers, I've got to say, and it's not, I can't say there's any particular reason why I shouldn't be a fan of the Bombers, given that we've done nothing but beat the absolute living piss out of them the entire time I've watched footy. But there is something that I dislike about them. I don't know exactly what it is, but there's something. Just one of those teams. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, that's fine. It's good. I mean, the Civil War reenactment, they can enjoy that. They can light their little campfires around their tents and sing songs and drink their whiskey. And when the real things start, when the actual bullets start flying, we'll see where everyone shapes up. But I think, Johnny, that I think you're right. I think and I definitely want to get into some sort of individual player performance stuff. But from a just a game perspective, the way this unfolded. I thought you've captured it well in terms of I thought Geelong's pressure efforts were very up and down. There were clearly some players, Sambo, obviously not with us this morning, but he was at the game last night, and he
Yeah.
said to us, I don't know if the broadcast picked it up, lads, but there were a lot of Geelong players just sort of barely raising a jog, around the ground. Like there was a lot of sort of saving the legs for when it really mattered, particularly some of Geelong's biggest heavy hitters, your Camerons,
Yeah.
your Patrick Dangerfields, etc. I think were the names you mentioned. He definitely mentioned Dangerfield. And obviously Bailey Smith's been big for us this preseason. When he's been on the field, whether it's in the intra-club match sims or it's the match sim last week against the Hawks, he's looked really damaging. Obviously, Tanner Bruin was one of our best performers in the match sim. Not there. Dangerfield played almost predominantly inside the forward 50. So our midfield looked very different to what I imagine it will look like come round 0 or opening round, whatever they're fucking calling it. But having said all that, and I think I want to sort of cover the players who really gave it a crack probably later in the podcast, maybe even a few more in the Patreon. But just from a team perspective, Johnny, there were a couple of things that stood out to me that they didn't worry me because they happened in the preseason as an isolated incident. It's because it's a pattern of things that we've seen now. I thought that in the match sim and then again tonight, I thought that our entry inside forward 50, which was something we raised, at different times across last season, even when we made a prelim. Some of we still haven't quite worked that out, have we, Johnny? Like,
No.
obviously there's the absence now of Tom Hawkins, and that was something we probably struggled with last year once he went out of like, okay, how does this all look now? Because there are just a lot of times I feel like, Johnny, where the person kicking the ball inside 50 and the forward leading aren't necessarily on the same page. And I just thought we created a lot fewer easy scoring opportunities than the Bombers did. I thought the Bombers had a lot off the top of my head. They just seemed to have a lot of those sort of, inside 30 meters, relatively directly in front, set shot opportunities, and they took them. I felt like we didn't create enough of those, and it's not the first time.
Yeah, definitely. The inside kicking is still not the best. And you said the new forward line is going to have to work out a way to work with each other. With Hawkins gone, you've got Shannon Neal, relatively new. Ollie Henry in his third season, and Jeremy Cameron, obviously the spearhead of this forward line. So those three, yeah, they're definitely going to have to work out how each other will fit in. And yeah, it's going to be interesting how they work that out. I still think Shannon Neal should most likely play that deeper full forward position out of the goal square and have Henry and Jeremy Cameron sort of the opposite sides or half forwards where they can roam a bit more up the ground, because they seem to have that probably a little bit more agility and able to bend down a bit easier than tall Shannon Neal. But yeah, that kicking inside 50 is still a bit of a worry. Just sometimes just that blast inside 50 and hoping for the best, or some really good pinpoint passes, but straight to a Bombers players. So it was interesting. Hopefully they can sort it all out, get it worked out before the season proper. I said it might be one of those things where they're going, well, let's just kick it inside, see what happens. We won't show full hand just yet. We won't just be playing our perfect football to give other teams the idea of what's going on. But yeah, I do agree. Like that inside 50 is still kicking inside 50 is still a bit of a worry for me as well. Just yeah, the long passes don't work all the time, especially with Shannon, who was still young. Like yeah, he did two really impressive marks inside 50, two big contested marks, which were excellent. But we can't expect him to do it every single time. He's still building. He's still building his body, his muscles. So yeah, we've got I almost like the strategy. Sit tight it up a bit. Use those eyes, lull them, as the commentary say, and do a bit more pinpoint passing.
Yeah, and as I said, it's just one of those things that it just seems to be out of sync at the moment. And of course, this is a time where you're okay with it being out of sync in the preseason, but it's just something to keep an eye on because it reared its head, a lot in some of our losses last year, and even in some of the wins where you went, geez, it's good that we had 35 scoring shots because we, but we could have had 40, sort of thing, at different times. Just to keep an eye on it, I guess, because to me, it's one of those things. It's not one or the other. For me, it's not like we have to kick it long or we have to kick it shorter. It's finding those times where both sets of players, the mids and the forwards, are on the same page. There were times last night where we went short with with a bullet of a kick at a time where I was like, no, that was a time to drive it deep. And then there are other times where we're driving it deep when it's like, oh, we had players to drop it short. It's just, for me, it's the decision making and the execution. There was some really bad execution actually at times last night, and from some players you wouldn't expect. Ollie Dempsey, I thought, had a really up and down night. Probably didn't execute.
Shocking, wasn't it?
Yeah, and obviously he's an absolute favorite on the podcast, but really up and down night that just couldn't get it going. In fact, I think he was one of our lowest disposal efficiency players on the ground. He, O'Sheen, Mullen, and Ollie Henry were our three lowest. Mullen 33% disposal efficiency, Ollie Dempsey 35%, Ollie Henry 50%. But yeah, Dempsey in particular, I guess, stands out because he's normally such a clean, clever user of the footy. But yeah, that was one for me, Johnny, that was an issue. The other one probably was how we got hit, so often over the back on sort of a counter attack where they had players streaming ahead of our runners. Do you think that's something like we obviously did see it at times last year, but do you think that's more of a case of this was just a product of being a preseason game and less something to be concerned about? You think they'll have that right for round one?
Yeah, with the defensive stuff, I'm not too worried about that. We've still got a very strong defensive unit, and at moments they looked incredibly resilient and unbreakable. And other points, it sort of broke down. But it's preseason. I'm not going to be tearing my hair out. I've got full trust in that defensive unit to be able to fix it pretty quickly. The way they go about it with Tom Stewart, Jack Henry, Colin Chasney, and all that. I don't think they'll be too worried about the score or letting through some easy goals. Like obviously they'll go back and review the game and really go, well, this was probably one of the poorest defensive nights we've had, especially in that last quarter. Just a few easy open players for the Bombers. I think the Cats will be pretty quickly rectifying that by opening round. But yeah, defensive unit's it's too good to let that happen constantly throughout the year. Like, it's going to happen, obviously. Teams are going to work out defensive structures and learn how to break away every now and then. But I'm not worried. Like, defensive units proved it year on year how good they are. So I can't see it completely falling apart. It's barely changed. So I've still got full faith in them to rectify it and teach O'Sullivan a few more tricks and ideas on how to defend.
I don't spend any time on it because in the meantime, every 3 months, a person is torn to pieces by a crocodile in North Queensland.
Pretty much.
Absolutely. And honestly, I think it's less to do with, and we talked about this last year as well, less to do with the defense itself and more to do with like the midfield. The midfield's defensive pressure, I think, is something that's been an issue, I think, at times. So,
yeah.
And again, that's particularly in this game where you're missing some key pieces who will normally be in the midfield, who do normally put on a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I think
Or
not that surprising. I mean,
or
Geelong isn't going
work
that
rate up.
well. Yeah, Geelong's midfield's probably not going that well when Jake Collar-Jasny leads the tackles for the team. He was our leading tackler with 4. Then it was Atkins with 4, Max Holmes with 3. Our pressure game was not where it will. It's not where I think it'll be come opening round 0.
Yeah, definitely
Ground
not.
0.
Definitely not.
Johnny, let's talk. Do you want to do votes? I haven't actually done votes, but
Yeah.
I'd be happy to
I'll be able
to do votes.
rattle
Anyway.
off a few.
All right. I'm going to go my 1 vote. Or you start with your 1 vote. Do you have 1?
Yeah, I'm just going to go with Jeremy Cameron. But still playing at, probably he's going at 50% throughout the night, and he's still able to do some ridiculous things. Yeah, he's going to be an absolute freakish player this year when he actually turns it on. Yes, I'm just getting up and down the ground so easily, kicking those goals like it was just practice, which it was really nice to see. So I think he's going to have another big year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I might go with 1 vote. I'm going to give my 1 vote to Mitch Nevitt. I thought Mitchy Nevitt was very, very good. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to change it, Johnny. I'm sorry, but I'm going to change it. I'm going to give 1 vote to Jack Henry. Jack Henry with 6 marks, 18 disposals. I think he had, if I look back, 13 intercept possessions. I thought his 2 preseason games, he's looked back to his best, Jack Henry. So I'll give Jack Henry 1 vote. I'll go with the 2 vote. Here, Johnny, I'll pivot us into. I thought, oh man, there's a few players, there's a few directions I could go. I think it's probably unfair not to go with Jack Bowes for my 2 vote. Now, having said that, I think it comes with the caveat that he was one of the players for Geelong who was absolutely trying his guts out. I think this game does matter to him, and so I have to give him 2 votes because I said to you before the game, I don't need to see everyone take it seriously.
No.
But young players and fringe players, and let's face it, Jack Bowes has been on the fringe at times of this Geelong side. I need to see those players putting forward an effort that shows they're trying to earn that regular selection. So 2 votes to Jack Bowes, 31 touches, 5 marks, 5 clearances, 720 meters gained, and a goal. I thought he was a bit of a standout, and at one point in the second quarter, he just had absolute leather poisoning, just racking it up left, right, and center. So,
Jeez,
yeah,
I
liked
must be super impressive.
Yeah, he must be. Who's your 2?
I'm going Mitch Nevitt. I thought, as you said, you wanted to see a few players put their best foot forward, and I thought Nevitt was one of those players to really put his best foot forward in this game and just show a few things. At times, he still looked a little bit lost in that midfield, like he wasn't sure where to go or who to follow, which Bombers players to follow. And sort of, they got the better of him here and there. But then there was also some really great moments where he, as I said earlier, he pounced on the ball, got it off 2 Bombers players and kicked inside 50 to Cameron, which ended in a goal. And it was just other moments where he seems that he's got his body strength in a good spot for him at the moment, where he's able to use that strength to either push off Bombers players off the ball and just get it through strength, or lay some really good tackles. And yeah, I thought for a fringe player, a player looking to get a fairly regular spot in the midfield or around the midfield, I think he put his best foot forward. I don't think it's going to be opening round, but it's definitely in the back of the mind of the selectors go, we got Nevitt, who's looking more and more ready each time he goes out there. So I think we'll see Nevitt a few more times this year. Probably more than what we saw last year.
Yeah. I am going to go with Brian Myers as my three votes.
Nice.
I thought he was pretty excellent. Now there's a couple of things. There's a couple of bad Brian moments. But that's part and parcel.
Can you name one player that didn't have bad moments?
No. Yeah, but I thought Grind, 30 touches, a goal, 9 marks. Yeah. He was sort of involved in everything. He's such an important link player for us. Yeah, still sometimes bites off kicks that I just go, what was that? But then equally, he can turn around and then just hit a kick that no one else on the ground could even, dream of, let alone attempt and execute. So, yeah, I thought he was consistently one of Geelong's best on the night. There's some other guys who are unlucky to miss out on votes. Not that votes in preseason mean much, but we might chat about some of those players in the Patreon part of the show. But Johnny, what about you? Who was your 3 vote?
I'm just going to go with Jack Bowes. It's a very important game for him to show he's still got it, and I think he brought it and delivered and showed off his candy. So, yeah, I don't think his spot's under threat just yet.
Oh, your candy. Show us your candy. Yeah, I like you can sort of play in a bunch of different spots. They've had him on half back. They had him at centre bounces sometimes last night.
Although
I like his.
I don't understand how you get Jack Bowes and Tyson Stengel mixed up.
Yeah, we had a few issues with the commentators last night. He wasn't the only one, but here you go.
As I say, they don't really look anything alike in
don't play on the same parts of the ground.
Yeah,
no, it's very, very strange. I can understand now. I am having increasing difficulties from a distance with Mitch Nevitt and Zach Guthrie. I have problems. I really do. I know that, but there's so many blondes in the Geelong team that it does at times get a little bit confusing.
Tall white blonde dudes. They can be quite confusing.
Well, last week I was like, great spoiled Blix, and then it was like, oh no, that's Tanner Bruin. So I can't talk too much about what they get wrong and right. But yeah, Stengel and Bowes is a pretty bad one. There. I know. Just more. All right, that is all for the public part of the show. Geelong, as we said, they go down to the Bombers. This is our final recap of meaningless football. We are actually going to be talking about meaningful football next week. Far out, Johnny.
Far out. 8 days.
Going to be crazy. I know. Absolutely insane. And I don't know, we might have, I reckon our next episode might be next Tuesday night, and it might be a Stonks pod. And then we'll do our recap the following Tuesday. So there'll be a bit of a gap, I reckon, between when the game happens against Brisbane and when we recap it, but that's just part and parcel of Thursday night games being weird. But so you'll actually, you'll get another episode from us next week before the other game.
And it's also just means the Chaps and the Hoops crew schedules chock-a-block full of excellent shows, especially if you join.
Johnny said it. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this and you're not subscribed, if you're not following us on YouTube, your favorite podcast app, on social media, what the living fig are you doing? Just follow along when the season starts. I mean, it's almost daily coverage now anyway.
Yeah.
So, make sure you get along, follow along, jump on a free trial on the Patreon, see what it's all about. But we will be back in your ear holes, in front of your eyeballs next Tuesday night. We're going to go do some Patreon talk now. Until next time, go Cats!
Go Cats!